How you doing, guys? Caroline and Colette. Hello.
Hello.
And how you doing? How are you guys?
Good. How are you, Aidan?
Great. No complaints now, Caroline. No complaints. If we did, who'd listen?
Well, that's it. Just trying to get sorted here now.
Yeah, good
Our
stuff.
Wi-Fi is very bad in the building today, so
Really?
I hope this works today.
No problem.
I'm at work, so
Yeah, well, fair play. Still tuning in. Fair play to you.
trying now. I'll get caught now.
Yeah.
But anyway,
You'll have to get the headphones. Sure, they might come in and learn something. Let them come in anyway if they want, you know.
That's it. There's only a few left anyway. Friday evening, bank holiday in the north. So
yeah, okay. Hi, Michael. How's it going?
How are you, everyone?
So, guys, just to start off again, if anyone hasn't sent me the vision, especially even people watching this on the replay, make sure you send me the 3 to 5 year vision. Some of you guys, most of you guys have sent it to me actually, and an updated version as well. So I still have to give feedback on 1 or 2. Make sure we get that vision, and it's so important because we have to get super clear on that vision, you know. And I think that actually answers one of the questions that came in today. So how can you, one of the questions from Randy is, he's not actually on yet, but how can you make sure that things as a lower self-esteem, okay, so or specific limiting beliefs, how do you stop them getting in the way of visualizing your vision already achieved? Which I think is a good question. So basically what he's saying is he has the vision, but he has the self-esteem issue or the lower or the limiting beliefs that are kind of preventing you from, can I really live that life? I'm sure you've had that over the week or two, right? When you're writing out your vision, part of you is thinking, you know, is it really possible? Can I really achieve that dream level of life? And, you know, the idea with the beliefs and the self-esteem, that usually comes from living a life out of alignment with your vision in the first place, I would say. I think from years of being someone you're not really meant to be, you know, years of doing things and being like other people have told you to be, you know, typically from your family, typically from your environment, your upbringing, you know, you're expected to be a type of character, you know, especially I think in Ireland, that's, and in the UK as well, that's it's a common issue, right? And people have no problem telling you who you should be as well and how you're supposed to behave. I think we fall into that trap. But one of the things is to really immerse yourself in the vision. And this is why I want everyone to get so clear on it, because the 2 ways to create change in the body and the brain is visualization and repetition. So we have to have constant repetition. We have to be, you know, morning and night thinking it, but then we have to be feeling it and imagining it on all levels. That's a hugely important thing, that you start to imagine, like when it comes to exercising, like Kevin out walking in the morning, you have to see yourself, even at night, even though you went walking that day, you have to see yourself as someone who walks regularly, someone who runs, someone who eats healthily, someone who does the needed work, makes the sales calls, does the outbound marketing. You have to immerse yourself completely in all senses as that new identity. That's the only way to overcome a limiting belief or a low self-esteem, low self-confidence. They're basically just patterns of thinking that you've believed over time. Does that make sense to everyone, even on the call? The patterns of belief, patterns of thinking that you've believed over time, that's really your core at this stage. And everything in your life, every decision you make comes from that program. So like the big thing with last Tuesday's session was like really taking inventory of how you think, becoming more aware of how you think and how you speak, to identify what kind of programs am I running that I'm not conscious of? What kind of reactions do I make? What kind of judgments do I make? What kind of decisions do I make? What habits am I in that's actually defining me that I'm not aware of? Another great exercise then that I do with a lot of my clients, even on one-to-one, this is specifically to do with your beliefs, and everyone should write this down because you can all use it. But you write down, you get a piece of paper, you draw a line down the middle, a blank piece of paper, and on the left, you start writing down, okay, things you believe to be true about yourself. Okay, so you write down different statements that you would define yourself as. So it could be anything from, I'm good in business, I'm not good in business. I'm good in business, but I'm a bad speaker. I'm a good listener, but I'm not a good persuader. I'm confident or I'm not confident. You might have different variations of all of these. I'm handsome, I'm beautiful, I'm not handsome, I'm not beautiful. I'm fit, I'm not fit. I'm healthy, I'm not healthy. I'm young, I'm old. All of these different things you say to yourself, write them all down. I'm good with money, I'm bad with money. I'm good with relationships, I'm bad with whichever ones you feel that you identify that you say often, you catch yourself saying. And then on the other side, okay, you have a space on the right side. And what you could just do then next to each one is you just write, is this a real limit or a perceived limit? Okay, so when I say limit, like it's how you define yourself. Like, is it really this way or is it a perception? You could write reality, perception. You can write real limit, perceived limit. And you just give each one, you go through each one. Like some people say, I'm no good at eating healthy. I'm no good at losing weight. I can never get past a certain point. Okay, is that a real limit or a perceived limit, would you say?
Perceived.
100% perceived, but the thing is you've believed it so long, it feels real. I'm no good with money. It's not a real limit. You just perceive it because you've just had financial habits that weren't good over a long period of time. I can never find the right person, the right partner. Well, again, you're condemning that. You're condemning yourself to that reality. Because one thing that's huge in our brain is we always want to act in a way that's congruent with our beliefs, right? So we always want to act in a way that it's in alignment with what we believe, because if we don't, we're going to look crazy to ourselves. If we act in a way that's out of alignment with what we believe, we'll feel odd because we'll say, that's not me. So whatever we believe, like I can never find the right person. I can never lose weight. I can never save money. I can never make the right decision. You'll always act in a way that supports that narrative, because otherwise you're going to look crazy in your own eyes, and you'll never allow yourself to look crazy. It's very important to our ego, to our character, to our identity, that we act in a way that's congruent to what we believe. So it's next week or the week after, we're really going to go into self-image and identity. It's going to step deeper than thoughts and language. Thoughts and language is important, but behind your thoughts and language is your identity. So to get into your vision of your future, you have to immerse yourself in it, in all aspects of your senses: taste, smell, touch, feel, and commit yourself to it. And it's work. It's work to commit yourself to that. But the more you do it, the brain will change. That's the whole neuroplasticity thing. Your brain will change then to start acting in a way that's congruent with that belief. Does that make sense? So if you're really not fit or healthy, and you start to really see it, feel it, taste it, touch it, smell it all the time, and then you start backing it up with action bit by bit, what's going to happen is the identity will start to see yourself as someone who's healthy and fit. And then the choices you make will be from that place. So it's the same with business. So I'm not good at finding customers. Well, once you start to see yourself with lots and lots of customers, once you start to see yourself communicating, people joining, feeling the emotion of people joining your business, people buying your product, then you're going to start acting from that place, energetically speaking. Your brain then will align with that reality, because your brain doesn't know what's real and what's imagined. Now, this is proven. I'm not just giving you stuff airy-fairy here. This is all proven. Does that make sense? Is there any questions on that?
Aidan, if we're writing down perceived limit or real limit after the left column, does that mean it can only be negatives that we're writing down? Like if there's a positive, it wouldn't necessarily be a limit.
So exactly. So even when you write the positive ones, right? Like, do you believe it or do you don't believe it? Okay. Like, is that, you could still say perception or reality. That's why it might be better to do so. Yes, technically what we do the negative for the real limit, perceived limit. But if you're putting some positive ones down that you don't feel sure about, that you'd like to believe is true, but maybe you don't believe it's true fully, you can even write next to that perception or reality. Like, or do I believe it or don't I believe it? So maybe that's two different exercises you could do in that sense. Because I do think, and I'm glad you said that, because I do think there are things it's like when you guys have all experiences when you're trying to make a sale, you get a yes from people sometimes, and then they don't do anything. So it's a false yes. They're the worst yeses. I always tell people, give me a good yes or a good no, but don't be lukewarm, because I hate it. It's the one thing I've no time for. Give me a good yes or a good no. So a fake yes isn't good for us when you're making sales, right? But it's the same thing with your beliefs. A false belief that you're telling yourself, like you're trying to convince yourself of something. I'm good with people, or I'm good with money, or I'm confident, and you're not really confident. That's kind of a waste of time. That's a shallow. You're not actually making change there. The only way to make change is to actually immerse yourself in it, feel it, taste it, touch it, smell it, and then really have so much repetition that it starts to become real. Okay, so one of the other questions there, and it was actually you that asked them, Michael, is did I always live this way, or do I live this way automatically that I'm talking about, and when did it happen? Well, it first happened for me in 2008 when I went working on the cruise ships. And I remember going up for the interview in Dublin, and I didn't even go for the interview in my mind. I already, the whole way up, I said, I work on the ships. I'm number one. I'm the best. I used to say it over and over, and I believed it. Even up there at the interview, I remember vividly the emotional state I was in. I was so calm. I was so chilled. It was the first time I'd ever really used this. I just read a lot of books that year about that kind of stuff. And I was just I had no attachment. I already saw myself on the ship being the best. And so since then, really, is when I've done it. But it took a lot of work. And the other question is, like, does it stay there? It never stays there, because we're human, and we have ego, and we have fear, and we have desire. So it's always a journey. So even to this day, I often fall off. I live out of alignment with my vision frequently. And because that's the human journey, right? It's seeking mastery. It's not necessarily attaining mastery, but it's seeking it. And that's what comes down to doing programs like this, having a coach, having a mentor, having the right circle around you, feeding your mind, guarding from the negative. That's why it's a process. It's a journey. It never actually ends. So that's why you have people like Kevin, who said he's been doing this for a long time. He's still here because he knows if it was all just done one time, you'd never have to do it again, but it doesn't. It's always, there's layers of us, and each new level we transcend to demands a newer version of belief. So each level of success you go to is a whole new level of belief, because you might be comfortable and you should never be comfortable. You should always be aiming. I had a friend yesterday, a guy I coached for a while. He owns a gym, a fitness center. And I said to him, it's hard for you to innovate because there's no one else innovating in Limerick. I said, so there's no one for you to compete with. But I said, you have to be to innovate against yourself. Because just because no one else is doing it doesn't mean you should stop innovating. Just because you're one of the best clubs in the city doesn't mean you don't keep pushing. You have to keep pushing through. Because how tall does a tree grow? How tall does a tree grow?
All depends.
Huh? All depends, but there's one answer, and the one answer is as tall as it can.
Yeah.
You never see a tree stop halfway and say, I'm good now. But as humans, we get to the stage where I'm making 50 grand a year. It's fine. Well, making 50 grand a year is perfect if all you're capable of is making 50 grand a year. But if you're capable of 500,000 a year and you're stopping at 50, then that's a failure. And it's not just monetary, just money is just a good metric to live by. It's like you can use your health and fitness. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm not sick. Not sick is one level, but if you're capable of doing a marathon, if you're capable of hiking every week, if you're capable of, being super fit, why, if just because you're healthy doesn't mean you're winning. Just because you're, you know what I mean? There's always more to go. And I think that's why I respect so many people like you guys on this course, always seeking more. And they're the people you have to be around. And you have to be the worst in the room. You should always be the dumbest, the least wealthy in the room, the least fit in the room. If you're the wealthiest, the happiest, the healthiest, you're going to sink down. And a good example I always say is, if you played soccer with Ronaldo for the year, are you going to be better at soccer or worse at the end of the year? No matter what, even if you're terrible now, are you going to be a bit better at the end of the year than before?
Yep.
Absolutely. But if you played soccer with some young fella from Sunday League who's 17 and hasn't a clue, you're going to be worse. And even if you surf with the best surfer, you're going to be a better surfer. So what's your vision in your life, financially, health, everything? How can I get around those people who are playing at a higher level so that they can help pull me up to that level? Does that make sense? And that's why it's intentional living. This is intentional living. All this conversation other people don't have, average people don't have, because this is they're going through life. They're just floating. You're intentionally living by being here. And this is the difference. And this is why, yes, it takes more effort, but the rewards are bigger. And when you go this entrepreneur path, the lows are lower, way lower than if you play it safe, but the highs are way higher as well. And that's the whole part of it, you know? So anything on that? Sorry, Caroline, yeah?
Yeah. I just think that, you know, when you start something like this, you know, there's groundings that you get, you know, like I've had a shit 2 weeks now since we started this,
Okay.
not because of the course, but because I just know now that I've just been doing the wrong thing for so long. You know, it was right for so many reasons, but it's just so wrong now, you know, and
Okay.
so there's a sense of wanting to step out of what I'm doing, but that again is a process because it has to be managed and it has to be,
Sure.
you know, there's a lot of organization in doing that, but I know now what I'm going to do, so that's okay. But I'm just so impatient now to do that.
Right.
But what I find is that my tolerance of the shite that goes on around you, my tolerance for it is minimum now.
So there's two things there, sorry to interrupt you, but just two things I want to touch on while they're fresh. And the first thing is, I think that tolerance being so low now is fantastic, because it means you're really clear on what you want and you've no tolerance. And that's like linking to the first thing you said, I was doing it wrong for so long. I don't think you're doing it wrong. And I'd actually remove that word immediately, because what was happening was it's contrast. Everything that going wrong for so long, it was just pure contrast, showing you what you don't like. And I'd be super grateful and thankful and embracing this time now, saying my awareness is at such a high level now. I know exactly what I want. I know exactly what I don't want. And here's my standard. And I'm not letting anything below that standard come in. And I would be just changing that energy to embracing it and celebrating it. Because that self-criticism of it's so long, I was doing it wrong for so long, and now I have to, again, it's just this low vibrational energy that's not serving you. Instead of celebrating, like being excited, like, wow, look at this contrast. Like, I know I don't want that. And I know for sure. Now let me use that energy, because it is energy, and let me use it going forward into this new creation mode.
Oh yeah, and my focus, my thoughts now are all about, you know, 6 months time, 7 months time, what I'm going to be doing then, and I can see it, and I can, you know, I can see it happening, and I'm in a good position where I can make it happen, you know, to a certain extent, to a certain point, I can make it happen, and but it's just, you know, it's a little bit like a washing machine. You know, this whole process is a little bit like a washing machine.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's why they say growth is uncomfortable. But ultimately is growth, whether you're changing direction laterally or you're going up in a level of some way. Either way, it's change, right? And change, any kind of metamorphosis, you're supposed to. That's why Jim Rohn said the tables and chairs in primary school are so small, because when you're like, remember second class, you know, you can't sit into them in sixth class. There's a reason for that. You know what I mean? If you're sitting in the second class chairs when you should be in sixth class, there's something wrong. But when you get to 18, you end up sitting in the same chair for the next 40 years. But if we had chairs and desks the whole way from 18 to 20, and it comes to mentally and emotionally, we have outgrown so many of those tables and chairs. But it's not physical, so it's not as obvious. But we have to look within ourselves and say, what do we really want? And when we look at what we want, we realize I'm still sitting in this tiny bloody chair and desk, and I'm not comfortable. And that's kind of where you're at. And now it's about, you know, going to that next stage, but understanding it's not comfortable, and that's okay. And that's more reason to immerse yourself in the vision. And don't waste any energy on judgment of ourselves. When you judge yourself for not being further ahead, when you judge yourself for not making a decision sooner or for making the wrong decision, it's just contrast. Everything that was wrong is just contrast. It just shows you what you don't want.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, congratulations anyway, Caroline. That's huge. It's great. I'll
One thing-
celebrate it for you anyway.
Carolyn, I celebrate it as well. Yeah. One thing that definitely comforts me for the last couple of years, my father said it to me one day. I used to do the same, like thinking about mistakes that I'd made or whatever, and he just said, the fella or the person who never made a mistake never made anything. So like you can't, like he just said to me, there's no point in dwelling on it. Like, okay, fair enough. He's going to say, all right, let's say you didn't make that mistake, you'd still make fuck all. You know, you're better off to make the mistakes. Like,
Yeah.
that
Absolutely.
always, it stuck with me. Anyway.
Absolutely. And you're so wise, you know, for so young, you're so wise. And, you know, you get into a stage in life where, you know, the responsibilities that you have demand a certain amount from you. And then you find a fit that allows you to do what you need to do. And you stay there because it has worked. And I think where I'm at now is I realize that I don't have the same responsibilities anymore. So this is not working for me now.
Yeah.
You know, it's not working for me now because I don't have the same responsibilities,
Yeah,
but in a different way,
Yeah.
a different way. So it's now about change again, and change, as you say, is uncomfortable. It is absolutely uncomfortable, but it's exciting too. It's exciting.
It's very exciting. And I think that's one other thing you just reminded me, when you're trying to, like the question you asked, Michael, that you wrote in the group was like, how do you get there to live automatically in this way? And really the way to do it is by being in the vision. It should excite you. Like you should be excited. And when you're excited, that kind of transcends the doubt a lot of the time and the limits, you know. Because it's like a child when they're 7 or 8, they don't have any limits, like in their imagination. They can fly, they can jump, they can run, they're whatever. Like I see my nephew being at home, just the light in his eyes every day, because there's no judgment there yet that we get when we're older. And I think once we have that excitement, we can do anything. And that's just, being childlike is so important. No matter how old we get, is to stay. I think the biggest wealth we can accumulate, or the greatest richness we can have, is being childlike as we get older. I think that's being that, and you know, when you meet people and they're so lighthearted and they take everything light or easy going, that's what we all want. I think that's the secret to life. I think is that lightheartedness about anything, you know. So again, using your vision to get excitement.
Somebody will tell you that clown needs to grow up a bit.
Let them. They're the real clown. You know, it's not about being immature. It's just about being childlike. There's a difference between being childish and childlike.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Well,
don't be
that's-
childish, but be childlike. I think is there.
Exactly. I was telling a friend that I was doing this course, a friend I went to school with actually, and 100 years ago. And I was saying to him, you know, I said, I'm doing this course with Aidan O'Brien. This is in Limerick, down near where you are, and da da da. Oh, I says, what are you going to be when you grow up? He says.
Yeah.
He says, you're always doing something. He says, what are you going to be when you grow up? So I said, I'm never going to grow up.
Exactly.
I'm not going to grow up.
It's way more
just
fun,
going to
isn't it,
grow.
Caroline?
It's way more fun, yes.
I'm not going to grow up. I'm just going to grow. I love that. I might use that one, Caroline. You should TM that. That's a good one. Right, yo, guys. Is there anything else on that? For anything else from Tuesday you want to go over? Are we all good?
All good.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. One of the things I noticed this week, Aidan, was the amount of stuff that what happens, you do all these courses and stuff like that. And as you say, if you don't keep it checking yourself, you drift off course and you drift into the norm of all the other people around you, and they're acting the same way. And the amount of stuff this week that I copped myself, the words you're using, yeah, hopefully I'll see you on Thursday, or yeah, I'll try and get there, leave it with me, and that sort of stuff. And it's amazing the way your brain starts counter checking you, because now you hear the word try. Before this you didn't hear it.
Yeah.
That the amount of stuff is you realize
Yeah.
how rusty you're gone.
Yeah.
On stuff. And the only comment I'd make on I know the vision that you're talking about is absolutely fantastic, because no matter what you're about to do, it removes the excuse immediately. You know, will I make this phone call to this potential customer because it could be worth 10 or 12 grand to me? And he says, Asher, I'll make it tomorrow. Oh no, but my vision says I want to be in such and such a place by such and such a time, so I'm going to do it now. And that's sort of like a vision pulling you. But
Exactly.
when you get to sort of
Okay,
middle age,
I'll
like
lock up.
there's also I run what I call a life calendar. I'm sure you're familiar with life calendars, where if you said to yourself, I'm going to live to 90, well, you put a month for all of those 90 years on a sheet, and at the end of every month you mark off a red dot on the one that's gone, so you now see what's behind you.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about what you want to see in the vision with what's gone behind you. So it's like a dog chasing you. It's driving you on to achieve what you want to do in the amount of time that you've given yourself for the rest of your life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a visual representation of the time that's passed.
Yes. Yeah. You sort of say, well, how much time have I left to achieve what I want?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you look back and say, Jesus, 30 years gone, I did shag all. So you sort of, it drives you on a little bit.
Yeah.
But that was the thing that hit me just this week, was the amount of stuff that I had drifted back into.
Yeah. And that's why I said that in that thing, the email that went, I was like, after this call, you'll be different, because even just the awareness of your language, like we talked about the RAS, the reticular activation system, that's what's happening now. Because you've identified your words are important to you now. It's just immediately you say it and it's just ding, ding, ding in your brain. And you're like, geez, I say that an awful lot. Like this hopefully and try and need. The big one I hope you guys get really aware of is I need. That's such a different energy. Like you don't need, you want.
Yeah.
And that, it's a different energy, and I'll try and hopefully, and I know you said that, Michael, in the comment in the Facebook group as well, I'll hopefully, and you see you've way more power. Do you notice when you change your words, you feel different? You feel a bit more purposeful.
It puts you in control a little better.
100%, yeah.
Otherwise,
Great feedback. Super, guys. Excellent. Well, listen, I look forward to seeing you guys Tuesday night. Keep sharing the wins in the Caroline Colette. We haven't seen many wins in the Facebook group yet from you guys. So let's try and get another
I
win.
don't even know how to post. Oh, I'll have to do that.
We'll do. That's your challenge for the weekend now, how to into the group, write post, and then share a couple of wins. And
I did put in a few things. Did you not see anything?
yeah, I saw comments. Yeah. But just your own personal
okay.
In the last week, like just something, like you said, a positive change, something you've implemented, something you've used. Just again to own the win and get used to celebrating our win.
Well, I've done a few things. Number one, I have put myself first for the first time in years. I have, when people ask me things, I say, I don't say yes straight away. So I'm saying, let me come back to you now. I'll come back to you before Tuesday, or I'll come back to you before Thursday.
You're giving yourself some space.
Trying to get space, because my life is full of other people making noise and I'm not getting anything from this. I'm only busy, but I'm not getting anything from it, So I have to change that, and writing a lot. I'm writing a lot,
Great.
and I'm trying to get well. I'm not really well at the moment. I'm not well energy wise at the moment. So I'm working on that to get well. Super. And so
there's a very
they're
good,
all wins for me.
Very good friend of mine has a saying. He said, "You will be born on your own. You will die on your own. Live your life for yourself."
Yeah, it's true.
Yes, that is very true, Kevin. And I say to my own students here, because I do a lot in confidence and confidence building, when you're born, there are three people in your head, me, myself, and I. And no matter who you meet throughout your life, nobody will know you better. And nobody else, they will always be by your side. So that learning, that self-trust, that self-confidence, it's not just you on your own. You have your counsel, you have the knowledge of all your experiences, you have all that wealth of wisdom, that personal knowledge. And it's being able to view that independently, being asking the me to, what should I do? Have those conversations in your head. You're not mad, but be able to self-evaluate and to
ask yourself some new questions and get some new answers.
Ask yourself some new questions. And before you ask somebody else, ask yourself, do I know the answer to that already? Yeah. What can they tell me that I don't know already myself?
Super, guys. Great call today. I love the interaction. And we say we learn as much from each other and everything, and this is why it's the power of the group, I think, as well, hearing other people's insights. And I love it. So that's great. We will see you all next Tuesday evening for week 3. Can't wait. Have a great weekend, guys. Keep implementing your success steps, and we'll see you guys Tuesday.
Okay, Aidan, thanks very much.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Look,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks, guys. Okay, bye.